Welcome to bloody Coprolalia, the only podcast that has a go, gives it a good go. We have arrived here in central Victoria, Guildford, the land of the free. Can't think of anything else to say about it.
The land of the grumpy.
The land of the grumpies, yeah. In today's episode, we bloody have a chat about freedom of speech and outrage culture online.
It's not so silly, this episode.
No, it's kind of serious.
We talked about playing in a band. We talked about...
demystifying the creative process.
Yeah. And being offended on the internet.
Yeah. Man, energy levels are running high on this episode. So bloody gear up.
We're setting the tone for the rest of it.
Yeah, it doesn't get much better.
We're also right in front of one another, which is different.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe that's why. We're just nervous to actually see each other for the first time. Bloody enjoy the episode. Giles, how are you?
I'm good. I just stayed here last night, and now we've woken up from that. We didn't drink a huge amount, so we've recovered all right, I think.
You did pretty well. I saw that there's nearly six-pack gone of stouts, and those are heavy boys. Those are big ones.
Yeah, I did feel that right at the end of the night. Because I did open a beer and then everyone went to bed, so I did drink that beer. I can't just not drink a beer that I've opened.
I went to I had three like beers and I was done. I was out for the night.
And a wine. Yeah, you were whining.
Had a good old wine.
Yeah.
I've been trying to keep up with Dad for the past 4 days.
Yeah.
And I just can't do it. I'm feeling real beat up.
Because you can't drink like your dad drinks.
He's had a lot more practice, perhaps.
Yes, that is one of the things that helps having having a body that's used to that level of alcohol intake, and also having a sleep cycle that's based on knocking yourself the fuck out with ethanol.
So stick with it, kids.
Yeah.
You can always get better. There's always room for improvement.
If you're that guy at parties who always ends up vomiting and passing out, eventually you'll just end up as the guy who goes to sleep really late.
This is a real good juxtaposition to our last episode, which was all about addiction. Coprolalia, two sides of every story.
Yeah. Represents the duality of man.
I think that should be our tagline.
Yeah.
Except that we're extremely, demographically speaking, we're in the same boat.
Yeah.
The lack of diversity in this podcast is a glaring issue.
Is it?
We'll give a shout out to. We'll give a call out if anyone wants to come on here and bring forth some new perspectives on the world that aren't our own. Come on down to Coprolalia.
Do you actually feel that if we were contacted by someone from Iran and they said, "I'm flying to Australia," would you have would you have this stranger on this podcast sitting across from you?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that sounds like good content.
And you'd let them just tell you about Iran?
Yeah. I know nothing of Iran. I'm down for some education. So that is
I was trying to think of a pun for Iran.
Well, I ran so far away.
Yeah,
all this I ran.
Then it's
all this way to tell you guys.
I ran all this way
to be on your podcast. It's been fascinating sitting staying in the country and being somewhat disconnected from the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself sitting.
Nice.
I found myself in a chair with no book, no phone, no music, no nothing. Maybe I had a coffee, but I had a good old sit.
What happened in your head during this time?
I was expecting it to be more introspective, some time to think, some time alone with my thoughts. Didn't really think of anything. I just sat there quietly, kind of a blank slate.
That's something that people try really hard to do.
Came fucking naturally to me.
It's easy. Just do nothing, man. You've never done nothing before, man. It's easy.
It's such a stoner thing to say.
I find that I ruminate very easily. So, yeah, give me a little while without any stimuli, and my brain will be like, remember all of these moments in your life. So the stillness and the emptiness, for my brain to find a resting place where where nothing matters except like the information that's coming into my eyes and ears, can be like sifting through a lot of like a pit of screaming children. Just like pushing them out. Do you see the bottom of the pit?
Do you fear?
For some reason, I want to see the bottom of the pit.
Do you fear the quiet then?
Sometimes.
Did you have to deal with your own nightmares, your own past, your own history?
I would say I have like a little bit of tinnitus, which I imagine you also do. That's the
yeah,
like,
I know what it is. I don't actually think I do. At least not yet.
Well,
it's coming.
I remember during our jams that you and Wade both said, "Well, our hearing's already gone, so we're just gonna turn it up really loud." And
yeah, that was really bad. That was really awful.
It was far too much stimulation for me playing that loud. However, I think sometimes that's the only way to play and have that energy.
Better sound quality would also help. Like when you're pushing a shitty amplifier, like to get it to get to that energy level that you're looking for while you're playing music, while you're jamming, is sometimes the only way to do it is crank it up.
We did.
But that's really fucking awful for
you. We did blow that Roland keyboard amp as well.
I blew up every amp that I touched for a little while. None of which I owned.
One of those was mine.
Your amps are okay. I don't think I blew up any of your amps.
But you touched it.
We have a special guest that may or may not comment during our ramblings. We are in the presence of the Messiah of Guildford.
Praise the Lord.
If you ever if you're ever having a coffee or a pie in the Guildford General Store, and the Messiah walks in, you will be treated to quite a spectacle of praise and worship, and as everyone drops to their knees.
We actually haven't talked that much about the music we used to play, or we talk mostly about art.
That's true.
Maybe we should talk about music today, just about being in a band.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good idea.
What stories can you remember from that time period? Maybe things that happened at gigs or band room shenanigans.
Gigs, the first thing that comes to mind is where I died a little bit inside from playing Australian pubs.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that doing your stuff or doing the Astros?
Astros pre-you. This is when it was just me and old mate Wade. We were playing in a duo that really wanted desperately to be the White Stripes or the Black Keys. And we were playing...
The grey... something. I'm just trying to put black and white together. Grey...
Yeah. Hang on. The grey strips or the grey...
the grey strips.
The grey dashes. Anyway, but we got in the mix with this guy who was like a music promoter or organised lots of live gigs around Central Victoria, and so we played a lot of Bendigo pubs and stuff like that for a little
Bendigo
bit.
pubs.
And we got good reception from a few people because we were quite raucous and played loudly, and I think they liked that. They liked the energy. But just the vibe of playing in those places was really, really gross, and kind of put me off playing live music for a little bit.
Right.
But then I don't think I really like playing live music anyway. At least not at this point.
So you wouldn't play live stuff today? Is that what you said?
I would if I had something worth playing live, I guess. I think that was, but like after that, I hadn't produced much music that was needing to be played live, except I was making dance music and stuff like that. But I fucking hated going to the clubs, or the doofs.
Yeah.
So there was no.
That was quite funny seeing you do that doof, and you got some obscene slot like
at 7 a.m.
Yeah, 7 till 11. I remember I went to sleep and woke up, and you were just standing behind the desk like a zombie, just like
no one was there.
There was a couple of people just like standing and rocking.
Yeah,
maybe.
And I stayed up for it as well. Like I think I got 2 hours sleep before you kicked me out of the tent.
Me?
Yeah. You came and said, "I want to go to sleep now," and then I went and sat by the fire.
Which one was this? This was
Geo Palace.
What?
Out in the bush.
I wasn't staying in your tent.
No, I didn't have a tent at all, so I slept in your tent.
Oh.
Or swag or whatever it was.
Wait, so I kicked you out?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, that's all right.
I honestly can't remember that.
No, you needed some sleep. You were pretty done. And we had already agreed on it. Like I said, hey, I don't have a place to sleep. Can I sleep in yours for a little bit? And you were like, yeah, cool. But if I want to go to sleep, I might come back and push you out. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool.
A friend of mine, I call her a friend. I don't think she likes me that much.
I know. I've had plenty of friends who neither of us have liked each other.
One of the themes of that doof, the Geo Palace Symposium, was that you dressed up in a robe, or like you brought a kimono or whatever.
Yeah.
And there were some free-to-use robes hanging up. And I thought I'd grabbed one that was just like for general use for anyone to take.
A public robe.
And it was this particular person's pink robe, or pink like dressing gown. And they came up to me later and told me that it was their grandma's like nightie, essentially. So I spent like a good couple of hours dancing in this pink nightie, and she came up to me and was just like, "Do you know whose that is?" And I was like, "Oh no."
In your defense, she brought her grandma's nightie to a bush doof. Like, what the fuck did she think was gonna happen?
Get lucky.
Add some weight to it. I'm like,
Oh, sorry, I needed that magazine.
it's really clarifying. It's perfect. It's good.
Fixing the mic.
That was a shitty night though for me, and I think this is the reason why I haven't enjoyed doofs is because I always do them sober, which is maybe not the best idea. But I went there and I knew enough people,
That's
so
for
I
the
felt like
pros. The pros do them sober. They've been to them so many times that they're like, I don't want to kill myself doing this.
yeah. This is probably only my second one though. But I'm just like, I guess I'm still certainly very socially awkward in those kind of situations, especially. And so I just didn't really speak to anyone. I just sat by the fire for hours and hours, amongst people, but not speaking to anyone.
Yeah, right.
And I saw the sun come up, and everyone kind of stumbled away in a drunken, drugged out haze. And then I was like, guess I'll play some beats for these guys. And
I guess I'll keep everyone up.
Yeah, and then I DJ'd for 4 hours, which was fun. I enjoy doing those really long sets. We have our first caller. Let's get back to our music though.
Yeah. I do have a couple of memories that are just sort of like, I guess, proud, and I don't want to ramble about achievement or anything.
As long as you bring something that you learnt.
Okay. I learned that I am the best. No. But there was one show we did. This drunken guy was very into what we were doing. Maybe it was a good night for me. And I was just improvising in a way that just like was making this guy real happy.
Yeah.
He came up to the stage. He was yelling out like nice, like friendly things, just like yeah, like keep going.
Was this with the Astros? Is this with us? Yeah, I don't remember this.
And when we finished, he came up to me and he said, I saw Frank Zappa live in the 70s, and I think you're a better guitar player. That's what he said to me.
Such a weird comment.
Yeah. He's like, you're the best guitar player I've ever seen, and I saw Zappa in the 70s. So I was flattered by that, even though like I'm not that familiar with Zappa's work. Zappa's an absolutely incredible guitar player, and I absolutely am not better than him. But this guy was just like utterly shocked. It was weird. I liked it though.
I've heard that, not that exact thing, but like I've heard people do that kind of thing before, where they'll just compare you to someone ridiculously good.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know that you're trying to flatter me, but I think we can all disagree objectively that person is better. There's just no way in hell that anyone could be up to that standard at that point in their career. They're just starting out. They're just playing in a pub, they're a better guitar player than Jimi Hendrix? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Or Miles Davis, like you go up to a horn player and go, man, you can fucking play like Miles. It's not the same thing, man.
As soon as you play something that's actually different to the way that Miles Davis would play it, like you just can't even really compare them anymore. It's two different personalities, two different characters. And when it's improvised, like the way we were doing it, it's like, well, they can't do that. Like, they can't do what I did, because that's the way I do things. But anyway, it was flattering anyway.
Yeah.
We got to play with the Smith Street Band, which was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Not the actual band, just
the guitar player.
Just Will, yeah.
The main...
The front man, really, yeah.
That was a great gig, actually, because he got down off the stage and just kind of hung out with everyone while he was playing the songs.
Yeah, so it seemed like the sound... It seemed like the bar wanted to close or something, because they turned off the lights and the speakers. and then he stepped off the stage and started playing his guitar straight to the audience.
Right.
I think they wanted to get out of there, and he was just like...
Okay, that's a bit shitty.
Well,
but it's still
also
a
sort
real
of like
nice
punky
moment.
And rock and roll.
It's part of his character that you got to keep up with.
I used to get a lot of compliments on the distortion pedal that I used, which I still really like it. So yeah, Will bought me a pint of like 3 Raven Stout or something like that, and said that he liked the guitar sound. He liked the distortion sound.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's actually a compliment to me. It's like, that's a really nice pedal. You own some good things.
Yeah.
Well done. But whatever.
Well, having a good ear for a good sound is a talent.
I think I bought it because it has a painted lady on it. I think that's about it.
Oh, yeah, that was a cool pedal. It was a custom built thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's got a lady smoking a cigarette on it.
Those actually, what I can say, I reckon, is that having grown up in the country in a smaller town was a really good thing for a creative type or for musicians, I think.
Yeah.
I think I would have preferred to have maybe moved to the city earlier, while I still had some drive left for that music, and maybe we could have had a bigger audience at that point. But in terms of having so much space, so much freedom to just fuck around, to experiment, is a huge thing for people growing up.
Having that residency at the bridge was just it. I think it gave me the taste of performing that I sort of wanted.
That's the best part, is like you can just allowing young people to put on gigs and actually organize it all themselves, and so that was, I don't know, that's my best outcome from that period, I think, or best outlook on that period.
There was just more stories from the Astros. We had one gig that I couldn't get work off, and so we started like either 10 minutes or 5 minutes after I finished work.
Yeah. I remember this.
So I watched recently one of Kanye West's little short films, I would say, Runaway.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of that, Kanye West is like running down a road after having driven a Lamborghini to wherever he was.
Yeah.
He sees a comet fall, and then he's just like running for some reason.
Could have gone back in the Lambo.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Lambo would have been quick.
But
famously
so he's
quick.
just like, he's running, and his shirt's like unbuttoned halfway down his chest. And it's just like, it's really dramatic, and the music's really dramatic. And I remember my work is just down this one long road from the bridge, across a train line. And so I just finished work at as soon as possible, and then just in my white hospitality shirt, just like running down the road. And then I got to the Bridge Hotel, and then just literally stepped up onto the stage and put the guitar around me.
What did we do before you arrived?
I don't know, probably just checked the
jammed on
drums.
Yeah.
It would have been cool if you were jamming. Jamming.
All right. What else we got? It's a reminiscing stage. I guess if anyone's interested, that music is also all still online.
Yeah, that's
Astro
true.
still exists somewhere on there.
Bandcamp and SoundCloud.
Yep. It might be on my website. Can't remember. Doesn't matter. Search it up on SoundCloud or Bandcamp.
Yeah. Every performance was different because all of the jamming sections were improvised. We had little cues that we'd have to change bits, but yeah, the rest was just made up.
This is. I'm really glad that we grew up in the time period that we did. The idea of having fans come up later on in our lives and being able to kind of mine through our past catalog, because it's all still going to be up there unless we actually go through and delete it.
Yeah.
And hunt through all the shit and find these. No, I was going to say hidden gems, but they're not necessarily gems. But just like an interesting look back on where things can begin.
Like, you mean the evolution of the process?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always something, always exciting to look on artists or whoever, or creators in general, and see what they did before.
Yeah.
Before it was mystical.
Usually it's a very and usually it's very weird to do that, to look at say. I was reading recently that Unknown Mortal Orchestra, he had a band with like his brother or something before he went off solo, and they were doing a completely different thing. I don't know whether it was punk or garage or whatever, but yeah, I think he didn't like pop. Yeah. And then he very much became a pop musician. Some sort of evolution what happened. And he's just like, no, screw it. I'm going to make music that's nice to listen to.
I think it kind of plays into what we were talking about earlier before we started recording about kind of taking some of the mysticism and some of the romanticism out of the process of creativity. Like, okay. I think having art that seems mystical, having the actual finished product that seems larger than life is very exciting. Yeah. But I don't like people acting as if artists are on a whole nother level. They're geniuses, and this shit just pours out of them.
So
like,
if you were perceived that way, you would say, oh, no.
Well, actually, a friend said to me yesterday that, like, because I showed her the album covers I'm working on at the moment, and she was just like mystified, but like, how do you make all the music, mix it all, do all this shit, and then make the covers as well? And like, you're just such a creative force. And I said, no, I just have so much fucking free time on my hands. Like, she's looking for a job, and like that takes up all of her time.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I am just working so hard to do all this stuff, and that's, I don't know. I want people
the magic is working hard.
Well, finding that drive in yourself is certainly harder for some people. But I just like people feeling like they can do it. I want people to know that it's not, especially nowadays. Like, you'll just see an Instagram account that just pops up that's like, oh, I just take pictures of my duck around the world. We just go on holiday together and I take a picture of my duck in a different location.
It's a very original idea that you put there.
and suddenly it blows up, becomes one of the biggest Instagram accounts because everyone's like, this guy's got his fucking duck at the Louvre. That's just bananas.
A duck at the Louvre.
But like shit like that, though it's obviously it's a different type of creative process. But people just living their lives, and they just have this random idea and they just followed through with it. That's all that was different. It's not like a duck at the Louvre is a particularly revolutionary idea, but the person who went and actually took their duck there.
Yep. I was thinking about...
No one can steal that. That's my idea. I'm taking my duck.
Substitute duck for whatever other random toy, and it's been done quite a lot, I think.
Yeah.
But that's fine. I was thinking of streaming while I draw, because I do spend a couple hours, I don't know, like 5 or 6 hours on a piece.
Yeah.
That somehow could probably have people talking to me while I'm doing it, or watching the process. But I think you're right that it does make it seem less magical, because when I'm drawing it and it looks really ugly, when you can see basically the shape of the brush that I'm using, which is just a circle.
Yeah.
That there's not really that I don't use Photoshop in a way that's very masterful or anything. I use it fairly basically. It's just the end product has been combed over and neatened, and it just like it looks refined. When it's unrefined, it doesn't look good at all.
Do you think it's all right? So do you think would you disagree? Then do you think it is better to have the process in this fog of mysticism for people?
I think some people need the mysticism and some people don't. And demystifying yourself is a humbling process that it's definitely optional, I think. Yeah, perhaps it is just taste in how people approach it. It definitely frustrates me more when artists do it to themselves. I think that's where I kind of draw the line. Themselves.
Yeah, when they talk about themselves. I mean, Kanye does this, and it's the most frustrating part of his personality. Yeah. At least from my perspective, is treating himself as a genius.
Right.
He's obviously got a certain what's the word? Professional. I can't think. It's like feeling with your gut, like just going with your first intuition. Yeah. There we go. He's got an intuition that he's developed that is, I think, just very highly developed. So he's got a great sense of what ideas are going to work in what places. But
intuition plus like the means,
the money
is what is really what being an artist, being a successful artist or whatever, that's that's the formula. So the magic that a lot of people are missing is the fact that they get weird ideas all the time. They'll look at something, see it incorrectly, and then that'll just be some image. But they don't have they've not sat themselves down and made themselves learn how to draw straight lines, and that's the part of the puzzle they're missing. This coffee has made me feel a little ill. I think I need a break.
All right, let's take a pause.
It's the only pause we've actually ever had. We usually just go straight. Yes.
And we back.
And also, I thought more about the intuition thing. So, I think for some people, they want to believe that it is a magical process and that they just don't possess the magic, and that's why that they don't practice an art. So for some people, I think it's just convenient to see it as this mystical thing that doesn't flow through them.
Yeah, so that's what frustrates me is I think it's really just the wording, because if people just said like, oh, I don't have the drive, I can't be fucked, I'd be like, well, yeah, you don't. But when people say, oh, I don't have a creative bone in my body, it's like, no, yeah, you do, and you can learn. Because what if you're a mechanic or something like that? Like, you're using your creative sense to solve problems constantly.
Yep, true.
I just don't like people wishing, like, oh, just going like, well, I wish I could play music. I wish I could do these things. Like, just start doing them. If you actually want to, just start doing them.
Yeah.
But if you just can't be fucked, then that's fine. No one's saying that you should be able to do any of this stuff. But yeah, it's really just really a matter of just starting to do stuff, and you'll figure it out. Or you can get lessons or fucking whatever. There's so many different pathways, but the key is just to do stuff.
Some people, and I used to be like this, I really didn't like doing things that I didn't entirely know why I was doing it or what it was that I was doing. So I can now start a piece and then figure out what it is while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But once upon a time, I would never start something I didn't know exactly what I was going to do.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And so some people, the idea of like, oh no, I should get guitar lessons before I pick up a guitar.
Yeah.
They don't want to do something and then just go, I don't know what I'm doing, and then but yeah, I think that's one of the only ways to do it. You need to just not know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Keep tinkering until finally something clicks and you're like, okay, I sort of get this now.
My brother had a good experience with this recently, where he teaches flute and saxophone.
I've never seen him use a flute.
He uses a flute now, mainly just to teach. It's like primary school kids, so he's he needs to know how to use the flute, but it's more about teaching them just the basics in music, which he knows from saxophone. Anyway, regardless, he was teaching a guy in Brunswick though how to play clarinet. Yeah. And this was an older guy.
With the flute?
No, no, using
because he also plays clarinet.
Yeah,
he's quite good at it.
No, he used just a set of bongos to explain his theories. But this guy was like mid-20s, I think, or something like that, and he had a clarinet, or he borrowed a clarinet, and watched a whole bunch of YouTube tutorials and stuff like that, and just started fucking around with the clarinet before he even had his first lesson with my brother. And then when he got there, he was like, this is perfect. Like, the main thing you need to be doing is just fucking around with the instrument, because your brain will learn how it feels and where your fingers go and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's the kind of shit that isn't even really teachable. Like, you just need to get your body used to the instrument. So you just got to pick it up and just start fucking around, and then they'll teach you, especially at the start, they'll teach you the proper way of doing things.
Well, naturally your brain will go, I want to be able to do this thing with the instrument, and then you'll learn how to do that thing because you want to learn it. And you've got a much better chance of learning an instrument if rather than being given work to complete, you're actually seeking out techniques and seeking out abilities with
And you're also you're training your mind that way to think creatively in a problem-solving sense. So like I've learnt most of my stuff, most of my electronic mixing techniques and music creation kind of techniques through just I had the software and I just started fucking hitting buttons and seeing what did stuff. And watching YouTube tutorials helped along the way to get more technical things kind of in line. But I know the program in and out just from fucking around. And the same with an instrument. And you're just teaching your mind to think that way then.
I think that's how we approach our brains.
It's
tools.
like a neural network.
Already using it.
Just pour information in and it starts piecing together patterns and problem solving.
One thing about life is that you while you're trying to figure out what it is and what it's for and how it works, you're in it while you're learning. You can't view it from the outside, watch it happen, and then give it a go. You're already giving it a go.
Actually, that I've been doing a whole bunch of mixing for my EP that I'm working on, and I haven't mixed music properly in quite a while. And I've been watching a whole bunch of again YouTube tutorials and stuff like that about compression techniques and EQing and whatever, which is all stuff I learned in the classroom when I was at high school and then TAFE.
But you didn't have like a practical use for it
exactly.
at that point.
Yeah. So I didn't take any. Like I took it in and I could maybe pass a test. I could be like, okay, well, you probably do this and this and this. But then when I get to actually mixing, you're like, I have fucking no idea what I'm doing. But with the YouTube tutorials, I'll watch a thing about compression, about a particular use for a compressor, and then I'll immediately apply it to what I'm working on, and so that I can go, I get it now. I understand how that works.
Yeah, perfect.
It's. You can just pick things up so fucking quickly if you're really actively working on the thing, if you're really immersing yourself and
I agree.
Trial and error as quickly as possible.
Yeah. When it comes to art, I've actually found not learning how other people draw sort of allows you to have more originality in your own work.
Yeah.
Production's a different story, though.
There's that's more of a technical exercise towards the end.
Right.
But yeah, in terms of music production, from producing the beats and stuff like that, or producing the music like that,
composition is what that. I think that a lot of people who don't care about the semantics of music.
Get really confused by the producer.
Well,
the terminology.
The terminology has sort of dumbed down because people see beat does not mean the drum track.
No,
it doesn't. It means the beats per minute, or BPM is beats per minute, but beats are like the intervals and the speed, essentially.
Yeah, well, the way if I hear someone say, "Hey, I've got a cool beat," then that means that's an instrumental.
Yeah, that's an actual.
That's an actual track that's not fully fleshed out. It isn't composed yet into like a full song. It's just like the groove of the song, with all the parts like that. So it's like a sketch of an instrumental, I would say, is when I hear the word beat.
And the word production being used as something other than engineering. So producing a beat, it's just like it's a complete.
Something totally
no longer even makes sense in with their original terminology.
I think though also to the definition of the word, it perhaps makes sense. So you are producing the music. You are creating this music. But in terms of there has been a shift in the music industry of what these words mean.
In the credits of a movie, you wouldn't think that the executive producer made the film. You wouldn't think that he was the creative force behind it.
Yeah. And that's not, yeah, like it's still used in that way in other industries. Like it's
true,
just the music
it's
industry
true.
that's shifted so dramatically,
Well, yeah.
which is silly.
But you can't really just tell the masses to use words correctly. You
No, that's not how
you
language
just have
works.
you just have to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all right. And I think we've both grown up around not purists, but people who are proficient
Mm-hmm.
with music.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah. I don't have a point. Stories from the jam room.
Yeah. All right.
So about 5 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
Ryan and I were living together with Wade, performing maybe a couple times a month. We would probably jam, I don't know, several times a week. What do you
easy.
think? Yeah. And
We had set times, and then as well as just random jams that cropped up throughout the week.
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
All right, there's one really good,
Okay, yeah.
one small thing that I think is funny looking back on. Is I think it was our Monday jams or Tuesday jams, doesn't matter. That started at like 12 in the afternoon. Started at midday. And it was the same thing every week. Is what we would do is we would first go to the bottle shop and buy a bottle of red wine each, or a couple of bottles of red wine each. Come back and start drinking at noon while we start playing music. Get pissed while playing music, and then we would go and get a large pizza each at the pizza shop.
So Tuesday. The funny thing about that is we would eat pizzas only on Tuesdays because it was $10 pizzas.
Yeah.
But if you, any day of the week, if you order 3 pizzas at once, it's still $10. So we didn't need to. We made a big thing of doing the cheap Tuesday, but we could have done that any day of the week.
Yeah. Well, we were young and naive, and drunk.
That was good though.
Yeah.
It's a good Tuesday.
That's another example of just those. I wasn't experimentatious in terms of like
Experimentatious. I
that
like
word?
that. I think it might
sounds like a word.
I think experimental.
Experimental. Yeah.
Tatious is good.
Language is fluid, Giles. We
Yeah.
just discussed this.
By the end of this podcast, none of the words we say will mean what they used to.
I wasn't experimental in terms of my partying or social life or anything
I
like
see,
most
yeah.
people want. Most people
Just a
expect
solitary
the young
drinker.
people to do, but we did a lot in our household. What else you got? What other stories you got?
So, well, I just through chatting with Rye one time, I thought perhaps if we couldn't see each other and the room was dark, it might be a more dreamy experience.
Mm-hmm.
So we turned off all the lights and closed the windows and put blinds up, and then we put blankets over our heads, and then we jammed for a certain amount of time. Occasionally I would just pull up the blanket and see if you still had your blanket on, and you did, so I was like, all right, I'm committing as much as you are. And that was fun, just almost removing our bodies from the equation and just trying to communicate only through the notes we were playing and whatever.
You know, it'd be a lot of fun is a podcast in sensory deprivation chambers.
Yeah.
So we each in a separate chamber, and we just have a little speaker and a microphone just situated above us.
Imagine
and you can't feel or see anything, and you just have to
two deprivation tanks, and you
deprivation.
Yeah, sensory deprivation tanks.
It's a sound weird without the first bit. I think deprivation sounds like a thing.
Depravity.
Yeah, 2 depravity tanks. That sounds like the name of the podcast. Depravity tank.
Depravity tanks. If each deprivation tank has a flute in it that that plays in the speakers of the other tank, and
Yeah.
two people can just play, or even just record it, make it just really annoying, and then just play to one another, communicate using it. Maybe only the flute sends noise. You can't actually talk to one another.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just
Maybe there'll be a point.
conduct the other one's dream or whatever.
Perhaps there'll be a time within our lifetime where the sensory deprivation chamber will actually be like a zero gravity kind of chamber.
Well, they already sort of are.
Yeah,
What they do is filling
they're
them.
in water, right?
Yeah, but they're filling them with like salt, so you float on it.
Yeah, right.
So it is sort of like zero G.
I'm just thinking you can't have electronics in there,
Yeah. Yeah.
which obviously defeats the purpose of the chamber anyway. So I get why that wasn't like a problem for them when they made them. But if we're talking about like to have a little keyboard each or something like that would be fucking sweet. Just blindly just fumbling across the keys and trying to jam together. But yeah, the water would fuck with it.
Yes.
But maybe you can get maybe we could make some waterproof MIDI keyboards. I'm sure that's possible.
Yep. Or
If anyone knows of any MIDI-proof waterproof keyboards and has spare sensory deprivation chambers, send them to PO Box.
we need a PO box, I guess.
Um,
Now that you've made that claim, we need a PO box.
we also need enough fans who would actually want to send us stuff.
Yeah.
If you listen to the podcast, comment below that you listen to the podcast, because we don't pay
We'd
enough money to
appreciate
see
it.
our stats on Spotify.
And
tweet at us.
And if you don't watch the full thing, it doesn't count as a hit or something.
Yeah.
I don't know the rules about that, but yeah.
Send us a comment or just comment on our Facebook page or something. Send us a tweet.
Tweet at us.
Yeah, or tweet at somebody.
I feel like starting beefs on Twitter just to like generate some.
Yeah, I was
Some
thinking about
energy.
that because I tweeted it. We should start beefs with people that you wouldn't normally start beefs with. Though. So I tweeted at ABC Jazz yesterday, just saying that last track left me speechless with like the wide-eyed kind of just like straight faced emoji. I can't think of how
Did you
else
say
to describe
which
it.
song?
No.
So you just said the last one.
I was hoping that they would have like they would, if there was a presenter, they would have it up on the on the screen while they were presenting. But I don't think they do on the ABC Jazz thing. It was a shit track. That was the whole point. It was fucking awful.
It left you speechless because you just didn't
Yeah.
like it at all.
But yeah, starting beefs with radio stations like ABC Jazz and stuff like that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I tweeted something at this musician Margot Gurian, who she released a couple albums in the late 60s and early 70s that are really sweet and just like very lovely and interesting. And I just tweeted at her saying like, if you run this Twitter account and it is you, like, I really like blah, 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 the composition of this song. I think it's really lovely. And then she retweeted that, which I liked a lot.
That could imply that she doesn't run the account and the person who was on the other end just went.
It always talks from the perspective of I and whatever. So I think it is her.
Okay.
Which I was really happy that I could just cut, like I can communicate directly to her. I thought that was awesome. Yeah, like is Stevie Wonder still alive?
I think so.
See, if we grew up listening to Stevie Wonder and then just at any time, whenever the moment comes to you, could just say to him like, thanks for writing this album. Like I really loved it growing up. And then him saying back like, no worries at all. I don't know. I think that's great.
Stevie Wonder blind.
All right.
You can't use
So,
Twitter. Or someone can read in the tweets.
yes. Yeah. There, yeah.
But imagine like during Beatlemania if they had Twitter accounts.
Yeah, they couldn't answer any of
be
them.
fucked.
It would just be
An
just
unmitigated
waves.
disaster.
Yeah, it'd be like what Elon Musk probably deals with on Twitter.
You comparing Elon Musk's fame to the Beatles?
To Beatlemania, his Twitter notoriety is huge.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's like the most followed or anything like that, but people like he'll post something inconsequential and there'll be like 2,000
Yeah.
replies of people saying, "Thank you, Elon, for all of your advancements of humanity and etc. etc."
Yeah.
I don't think he reads any of it really. Especially on
he's
his
been-
dumb posts, I don't think he even scrolls down. Like he posts it and moves on with his life.
He's been such an idiot on Twitter lately, though. Like really fucking up his business. Like he's getting banned. Not banned. Like his companies
Yeah.
have to.
He was fined like $8
Monitor.
million and he's banned for like 3 years from being a CEO of Tesla.
Chairman. He is the CEO. He's banned from being the chairman. I don't know
Okay.
what the fuck that means.
Alright.
But they have to now filter all of his tweets through the company to make sure that they're okay.
See that's not free speech.
No. But then at that point, it's like he's responsible for so many people. Like if he fucks up that badly on Twitter and stocks drop so dramatically on Tesla that people start selling and they have to start laying off people from their jobs and shit like that. Like just because he tweeted something stupid is
He
I get why they should like
he called that
take some control there.
He called that person who rescued the kids from the cave in Thailand. He called them a pedophile.
Yeah, I saw that.
Was that like based on anything?
I don't think so.
He just
He said
felt,
because
felt
he was,
like starting a fire.
yeah, because he said that
Okay,
he was just some white guy in Thailand, and like, why else does anyone go there except to, except for that reason? I was like, yeah, so
That's like that's a bad line at a bad stand-up gig.
yeah,
Like it's like Kramer having a really bad show and then just resorting to racist jokes.
except
like,
Kramer isn't the CEO of a massive company.
he might be.
Maybe I don't think so. I can't imagine Kramer in like a board meeting, like halfway through, like they're just. They're doing the slide through the door.
Every time
We gotta sell.
we need to buy right now.
I got an idea. I got this idea, right?
His name is not actually Kramer. It's
No.
it's it sounds say Michael Scott, but I think that's the guy from The Office. I think that's the character's name from The Office. the actual boss. Kramer. It's
I
like
don't know who the comedian is.
It's got Scott in it, I think.
Tweet.
Michael Stevens, maybe.
All right.
Okay.
Tweeted us his actual name.
Michael Stevens. No, that's the guy from Vsauce. I don't know. Sorry, Kramer, I don't know your name. Richards.
I don't think he's concerned.
Michael Richards, maybe. Yeah. Okay.
With Elon though, or anyone like that, like when
And Kramer.
I just don't, I don't really like, I don't know, I can't decide how I feel about it. Like people being so tied to like their companies or whatever when they're not on the job, you know? Like if they're just tweeting from their personal profile,
Yeah.
and then the company like just freaks out saying like, this is our fucking CEO saying this shit, or more so the public freaks out saying like, look at what Tesla's saying. No, it's Elon, and he's not on the job right now. Like he didn't send that through the official channels of Tesla. He sent that through his own personal account. Like I think people should react a little less dramatically.
Absolutely. It's
where they associate, where they take that.
the desire for me to post something purely for laughs will never go away. So the idea that I would become more rich, more successful, but then actually just end up in a hole where you're not even allowed to be yourself, that that would be a deal breaker essentially.
You just have to build on that with that in mind. I think someone who I admire a lot at the moment is Philip DeFranco, because he has
I haven't thought about him in a long time.
He's built up his entire career on kind of like honesty and credibility, I think. And so
hot girls in the thumbnail.
Well, that's the thing, though. So yeah, that's actually what put me off back in the day.
Yeah,
like I was
same.
watching his segments,
Same.
and he had the hot babe of the day or something like that segment. And I'm like, dude, I don't know if this is. You're doing a news show. Like you're talking about war and all kinds of like horrible shit that's going on in the world.
His
and then
tone
this segment,
will change to be appropriate, even though like he's probably not feeling anything while he's doing it. It's like it's business for him.
But then why I like him now more is because he's talked about those periods and he doesn't defend them. He's like, he like defends himself as if like I've gotten better, I've grown, but I'm leaving them up because I did it. Like I'm not trying to hide that part of his history.
And believe it or not, he does a good job of just summarizing what's happening in the world at that time.
It's a good show, especially now.
And just
nowadays it's gotten a
whoever's
lot better, I think.
in the world at that time as well.
But yeah, and also he's doing a news show, but he can give his opinion, and he does kind of keep them separate for a lot of it. I think like gives the facts and gives his opinion, and he tries to make that really clear.
Yeah, he does
and
that
well. And I like that, and so I think like because he also my main point was about him though was that he talks about how he's got old material, old tweets, old videos, whatever that are trying to be a bit edgelordy, and they are they are a bit risky and they are a bit offensive. But he's left it all up, saying that that he's grown, that he explains that like I was younger, I was being an idiot.
Well, that's the James Gunn defense, though.
I think it's a good defense. I strongly disagree.
It's right.
I think I strongly disagree with the James Gunn thing that happened.
Yeah, I'm saying that it doesn't, like that honesty and that perspective won't save you from Disney or whatever, firing you or
that's the thing.
Or not hiring you because look, you've got this tweet from 10 years ago.
Yeah,
it's a little edgy. It offended one of our main investors.
Yeah,
no.
Well, there is a difference for working for Disney and building your own.
Yeah. Well, he's tried to be
industry.
Independent the whole time.
James Gunn.
No, DeFranco.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. So if you feel like if you wanted to build a career on being allowed to kind of do what you want and say what you want, then you can build that yourself. It's when you're part of these massive corporations or under the thumb of somebody else that things get a bit more difficult. It's good precedent to set, I think, like what Philip DeFranco is doing by leaving that stuff up and talking about it.
Yep.
To say like this is how we're supposed to handle things. We're allowed to grow. You just need to actually properly apologize for things and own up to what you've done.
Yeah.
If you disagree with it. If you
disagree with it, don't defend something you said in the past simply because you said it. But there are certain comedians that specifically give themselves an audience who are prepared to be offended, and they don't have to defend themselves.
No, because they've set that tone,
somehow
people think that like I see this a lot, that like I'm offended, so therefore you have to apologize. It's like no, I only have to apologize if I disagree with what I said. If I offended you, but I stand by it, you're not getting an apology. We're just disagreeing. We're having a disagreement here. We're having a discussion. We're there's no right or wrong way for a lot of these topics. I'm not, there's certain things when you can just be offensive and there's no excuse for it.
To be funny is their only excuse usually. That's the thing. Anyway. I would say I believe all of the talk is effectively not really doing anything. and that actions should be the only thing that's sort of punishable.
I think
If you're posting on Twitter,
the talk
even if
can
you say
incite
that-
action though, and it can be. I think intent is the main thing that
But intent
I'm-
is completely just like non-existent. Like it's not provable in any way.
Yeah, I guess. Well, that's so. I guess it can't be a black and white situation most of the time.
Yeah.
And you have to. There is a certain degree of taking people's word for what they meant and what they were trying to do, and just as the people offended have to give some leeway.
A lot of
being given leeway.
a lot of the hot water I experience is usually like miscommunication. Either the timing or like the tone of what I said, intending it to be ironic and intending the other to laugh,
Yeah.
will be taken unironically. Probably due to just my delivery being very deadpan or whatever.
Yeah.
But so I have to answer to that. People will make me answer to what I said, even if I actually meant the opposite of it.
Well, I think people should. I guess it's just the difference between immediately jumping to the conclusion, like, oh, this is what you meant, and I'm horribly offended by it.
Right.
They should instead first ask, wait, can you just clarify what you meant by that? And then if they then clarify that they were right, that yes, that's what I meant, then
Yeah.
all right, cool. Now, for fuck's sake, yeah, I'm actually offended. But if they clarify. Everyone should give the other people a chance to further the discussion a little bit further before jumping down each other's throats.
Yeah.
Unless you tweet out that like Hitler was right, then like yeah, sweet, take that guy to task. You know, like
Well-
that's
Well, you can say that ironically.
yeah, true.
and to make any sort of law or social precedent that to say that means you're like punishable or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, that's what happened in Scotland. Like, that was the
that is a
whole thing. Mm-hmm.
dystopian scenario where you're not allowed to. There are things you aren't allowed to say, and
Yeah.
I think the Constitution was set up so that wasn't a thing. So the people are sort of trying to amend it in the field, outside of
Yeah.
law, but it ultimately. Like, does it actually fix the problem? Do fascists disappear because they can't say Hitler was right?
No.
Or do they just find new language?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's what's happened now
I think people need to realize that they're not actually fixing anything.
by silencing.
Yeah. And in fact, let them say their silly thing that we disagree with. Let them say it. Let them be ridiculed if they are. Maybe that'll teach them something. Rather than having them delete the tweet, see zero discussion on it.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
they almost become a pariah for that, like, for being fascistic in 2018.
It's I find this is a tough subject because I'm not sure where the line is drawn. Because like I get people wanting to take away certain platforms from them, like don't give them a soapbox, and I understand that. I guess it's just about the different forums, like where are these discussions allowed to take place? Like they're not. I don't know if I can. I don't know. This is
fair.
a whole thing.
That's
But yeah,
fair.
certain platforms I don't think should be really allowed for just hate speech or anything like that. But I get what I get what you're saying, and I think I agree to an extent.
The system on Reddit where you can just downvote the hell out of someone's opinion, and then it effectively gets sunk to the bottom because it's not building on the discussion and it's just making everyone mad. Yeah, that seems fair in my. When it comes to online discussion, that seems fair.
Yeah.
Like if you're
that's
if you're just trying to make people mad, they will be mad, and then no longer will your comment be relevant to the discussion.
Yeah, and those are the kind of forums where the potential outcome could be quickly minimized. I think, you know, like it's not like you're not giving them a TV show with these opinions. You're not giving them a
Right.
radio station or anything like that.
Yeah.
They're just talking shit on a forum.
Yeah,
and that can
anonymous
quickly be
comments,
filtered
essentially.
by the majority population on that forum.
It doesn't mean that discussions on Reddit immediately sort of just become catchphrases and whatever. So I wouldn't take it for serious political discussion.
Yeah.
But I don't know where to find serious political discussion anyway.
Certainly not here.
Not on. Yeah.
I think I want to end it there. That's actually, I think that's our hour. Comment why you disagree. Dislike. Unsubscribe. And send us angry emails. Downvote. Post it on Reddit just so you can downvote it.
These boys are wrong. And then put it on the subreddit serious political discussion.
Alrighty. Dunskies.